Yeah, hello guys. You are welcome to the Java Academy. And in this particular video, we are basically introducing Java programming language, and we'll be writing our first lines of code in Java. So, if this is the first time you are trying to write Java, so there are quite a number of things that you need to get started. Okay, so firstly, you need to ensure that you have Java installed. So Java comes with, in order to use Java on any system, whether MacBook, whether a Windows, whether any operating system. So you basically need to download Java Development Kit, which is basically JDK. So once you have that running on your system, then you are good to go with running Java on your system. So basically, what you basically do here is come over to this guy here, oracle.com. So Oracle might require you to create an account before you can download, which is just fine. So try to download the latest guy here. Okay, so you can see the different operating systems here: Linux, Mac, Windows. So I am using a Windows. So typically I would use this guy, this X64 installer. So the advantage this guy has is that it helps you do some background configurations, that so you don't need to bother about anything. So once you download this guy and then you install it, you have Java successfully installed on your system. But since I have it, I won't be running that command. So if you want to, after doing your installation, and you need to verify if you have Java installed or not, you can open. Okay, let me do this from scratch. You can just open your command prompt when you type cmd here. And if you are using a Mac, you open your terminal, then you type this uh, Java version. Okay, so if you type Java version here, right, it returns the version of Java that you have installed. That is, once you've successfully installed Java. So if this doesn't come up, or it shows you something like this unrecognized option, so it probably means you don't have Java installed yet. So, but on my own system, I have Java installed, so it works just fine here. So after doing that, meaning your system is ready to receive your Java code, the next thing you need to do is to install an IDE. So your IDE is basically where you actually type the code. IDE stands for Independent Development Environment. So it's just like it's an environment where all your coding and your development takes place. So for this tutorial, I will be using IntelliJ, okay, provided developed by JetBrains. So once you click over here, so you will see that these guys have two different versions of the ID. Okay, they have the ultimate version, which is paid. However, you can enjoy a free trial for 30 days. Okay, and then if you don't mind paying, you could just download this, then you make the necessary payments. But in if you are not interested in payments, you can just scroll down. You will see the community edition here. So that's basically what you then download. So once you download this, it means you are ready to go and set to write your first lines of Java code. Okay, then I have that installed already. You can see a number of applications I've been working on, and probably I'll just show you what a sample Java code looks like. So you can see here, it looks quite beautiful and elegant. Okay, so I see no reason why anyone would not want to learn Java. So without boring you excessively, so I would create a new project. Okay, so what all the files that I'm going to be using here are going inside this tutorials folder. So documents, then I have a Java folder. Okay, Inside documents, you could create the folder anywhere, maybe on your desktop, but for me, I'm creating them inside this tutorials folder. So basically, this is where I want my all the lines of code I'll be creating for these tutorials to be in. So I'll click on documents and not here, yeah, documents, and then Java, and then tutorials, this specific folder here. Click OK. So here I've specified the folder where I want my code, my project to be in. And then here I will just say intro. Okay. Intro is the name of this project. So build system IntelliJ. I've chosen Java here. Okay. So once that is done, I will just create. So new window. Okay. So this project here comes with a ready-made code or a ready-made structure or skeleton for you to actually start coding. So if you look at these two buttons here, so just to get to these two buttons here, you can click on them to run your code. Okay, so you can click on this, you click on this, or you click on this to run this current file. Okay, so but before we run this, let us try to understand what is going on here. So the first thing here is a file is opened here, which is called main. Okay, so you can notice that the class name begins with uppercase. Okay, so your file name in Java programming should it's just a normal coding standard. Ensure your file names begin with uppercase. Okay, now the file name begins with uppercase. Then we see this skeleton of code. This is something you are going to be seeing again and again throughout your Java learning session. So if you look at this here, we first see that all of our code begins from line 1 and ends in line 5. So what it implies is that all of your code, everything you want to do must be done within this parenthesis between line 1 and 5. Outside of line 5, it's no longer Java code. Okay? It's no longer Java code. So everything you do has to be within this space. Okay? So between line 1 and line 5. Now, aside that, you can see that there is a keyword here, public. It's a keyword. Basically, it's one of those words that come directly from Java. It's been declared by Java. And so public basically means what it means in English, public, accessible to the public. So this class can be called from anywhere in your project. Okay. Then the next point here is class. Okay. So it says public class, a class that is accessible to the public. So typically, if you go to school, a class is something that contains students, it contains writing materials belonging to the students, it contains the teacher and other things relating to that particular class. So basically, every single Java file is a file. It is a class actually. Every single Java file is basically a class. So every single Java file is a class. Okay, so meaning that this class here is every single thing every single thing that you write inside this class is said to belong to this particular class. Okay, so and we said this class is public. Then the next part here is main. This is a name that we declared that is you are going to be declaring on your own. So this is the name of the class. Now, point number 2 is that name of the class must be the same as name of the file. Okay, so if the file is called main here, your class name has to also be main. Okay. So point number three is good practice to make class names to be uppercase. Okay. The first letter in your class names have to be uppercase. So you have main. Okay. So and then you have these parentheses. So every single parenthesis or every single bracket should have that is opened should also be closed. So you have the open brace here or bracket here, then it is closed here on line 8 now. So it has expanded. Okay. Then another bracket is opened here, it is also closed here. Okay. Then another bracket is opened here, it is also closed here. And then you can see this here, another set of brackets opened and then closed, and then same here. So basically, this is a construct of Java and many other programming languages. So basically, this is your class. Okay, everything that goes inside here belongs to that class. Okay, then aside that, you now have this short snippet of code, which is so this short snippet of code here is basically a method. So a method is a member of a class. Okay, like we said, students are members of classes in the real life. Same way here, methods are members of what? Classes. So methods are members of classes. Okay, so we have this method here. And you can see this method too is public. Then you have the static and then void and then main. You're going to be used to it. You get used to it later on with time. So yeah. So later on I would explain pretty much what this guy does. But understand this now that this main method is the entry point to your Java project. So main method is the entry point to every Java project or application. Okay, so it has to be the entry point to every single Java application. Okay, so later we would see we would understand more why it is public and static and void and main and so on. So then inside here, you now have our first line of code, which is system.out.println. So system.out.println is a command or instruction for displaying text to your screen or to your console. Okay, so what you are saying here is that you are instructing your system to display hello world to your console. So if you run this application from here now, so because this is the first time we are running this project, it could take some time. So let's give it that 1 to 2 minutes should be done. So you see that it works here and it gives us our first result. So with this, we finally run our first line of Java code. Okay, first line of Java code. So now let us so next thing to take note of here is this. You will have noticed this here, which is a set of words inside double quote. Okay, so which we'll be working on with later on. So let's try something like this: system dot out dot print line. Okay, so if I'm going to type in a text, I have to begin that text with double quote. Okay, if not, it's just going to be an error. So let's try this without the double quote and see. You're welcome. So I hope you see that now. So this is not proper Java code. So here with your double quotes, then you can type something like you are welcome to our class. And then you can run this. So you see now that we've run another line of code. So with this, we can see that everything works just fine without any issues. Okay, so having done this, I would like to erase all of this and then move on into something more serious and then more delicate. So let's say um, I want to print out a brief information about myself. Okay, let's say I want to print something about my country, Nigeria. Nigeria is the greatest country on earth. Okay, so basically this works here. So all of you are doing here is just displaying some lines of code to our console. So the opposite of this would be to type something into our system and then let your Java code accept. But then we'll come to that much later in our class. So having done this, I would like to introduce something called variables. Okay, variables in programming. So this is not something that is restricted to just Java. So variables in programming are basically a a placeholder that stores or temporarily stores a value. I could also say a temporary storage for a value. Okay, so basically everything can be represented as variables. Okay, so just imagine yourself. We could represent a single person as we could represent a single person in form of variables. So let's try to do that. We could have this single person could have a name, or let's say first name, last name, could have an age, could have a state of origin, could have a gender, complexion, height, could have weight, and so on. So how do we create variables that represent a person? To create a variable, there is also something else we need to know in Java. Every single variable will have its own data type. Every variable has a data type. Okay, so that data type will will tell that data type basically tells you what type that variable is. So let's start creating this person. So the person has a first name. So this first name is typically always going to be a text. So this kind of text is can be represented with the data type string. Okay. So like I said, every variable in creating a variable, you first specify the data type of that variable, then the name of that variable, which in this case is what? First name. Okay. Then we could create the next one, which would be last name, which is also a text. Then age. Age is basically not a text. Age is typically a number or an integer. So here we would say int age. Okay. Then state of origin, we would say string state of origin. Okay. Then your gender. Okay, let's say string for now. Then complexion, string complexion. Then your height. Your height is typically be a decimal, right? So to represent a decimal figure, you could use double and height. Yeah, we could also use double for weight. So with this, we have created variables out of all of this, so to represent a person, basically. So you can see how to represent a variable. Very simple and straightforward. You specify the data type, then the name of the variable. Don't forget that that variable is typically a placeholder or a temporary storage for a value. So regardless of who the person is, you can now specify a value for these guys here. So how let's now proceed. After declaring the variables, we've not set any value for them. So how do we set a value for this variable? So if you hover your mouse on this, it says variable first name is never used, meaning you've not assigned a value to it. So let's assign a value, and then from there we can now use that variable. So I'll use myself as an example. First name equals Ajibade, or let's say Musa. Then, so bear in mind that every single Java statement has to end with a semicolon. Without the semicolon, it will always return a compile time error. Okay, so you can, if you place your mouse here, you can see this red line here showing that it's an error. Okay, then the same way here, I could say last name equals Ajibade. So typically, this is one way of assigning a value to a variable. So you see what we've done so far. We first declared the variable, then we assigned a value to that variable here. Okay, then we assign the value to that variable here. So same thing here. However, instead of going through this, we can make the steps shorter. So let me remove this. Let me remove this. Okay, the first name here, let's call this Musa. Call this Ajibadi. Okay, so you see now that we've combined the declaration and assignment of value in a single line, which seems more concise and a better readable way of doing things. Okay, so age, let's say 12. So bear in mind that now that we are specifying age, which is of type int, there is no need to put double quotes. Okay, if you put double quotes here, it shows an error, right? So place your mouse on it, says that required type is int, meaning that the data type is int. What you provided is a string. Okay, so you could just do this, and then you have your. Then the next point here is state of origin. Now, I would like to mention here that when creating your variables, try to ensure that your variables are well defined, such that if you leave a project without looking at it for probably 6 months and you come back, your variable names can suggest what each variable actually stands for. Okay, so use sensible words for your variables. So here you will notice that it, which is a word on its own, is in uppercase. Then the next word that joins that particular variable, I made it uppercase. Then the next word also uppercase. So this is basically what camel case. So we employ camel casing for our variable names. Okay, so camel case typically implies that your um camel case typically implies that the first letter is small letter, then the next words that are combined together in that single word would now begin with capital letter. Okay, so state of origin, I'm from Osun State. Then gender here, of course, from my voice, I'm male. Complexion, I'm dark. And then height, you could say so this is double, right? So let's say you could have any value, let's say 129. Okay, So basically, this guy here will convert this value to decimal for you. So this is 129.0. Okay. Then my weight will be, let's say, I think I will up to 100 now. Okay. So this is how you declare and assign values to variables. Okay. So this is how you declare and assign values to variables. So with this, we are now ready to make use of all of these variables. Okay, we've only assigned values to them, but we've not used those values in anything yet. So if you can see here, it says variable first name is never used. So let us see how we can handle that. Okay, so now we use the system out statement, print line. So in this case here, I want to actually print out all these values in a statement. So I could say I am, okay. Before we do this, so we could print out first name. Then when we run this, instead of printing out first name, it print out the value that has been assigned to first name. So run this. So here we go. We have Musa. It prints out the value that was assigned to it. Okay. We could then come over here and then print out last name as well. So let me expand this. So it prints out Musa Ajibade. Okay. Then let me print something else here again. Let me print out my age. So you see here now that unlike before when we wanted to print hello world, we had to do this. Okay. But here, because we are using variables, we are able to call those variables directly without double quotes. Okay. So let's say I did something like this, string greeting, and I put hello world here. So I can simply replace this here with greeting. Now we are good. So when you are calling your variable names like this, you don't need double quotes. You can just call them directly. So if we run this now, so you see it returns hello world, it returns Musa, Akibade, and then 12. So we are looking quite good. So however, what if I need to print first name and last name, for example, on the same line? Is there a way I can do that? So yes, I could remove this LN here. LN there means the next text that comes should be on the new line. But once I remove it, I'm removing that impediment. So let's try to run this and see. So you see now, it prints Musa Ajibade on the same line. So how can we ensure that there is a space in between them? So this will lead us to what is called concatenation of strings. Okay, concatenation of strings. So in here, I'll do that concatenation of strings. So here I can remove this. Okay, first name plus last. So if this were integer values, it will just sum them up, do 2 plus 2. But in the case that they are strings, it will just print them out together side by side. Okay, so so you see that it prints even the age here on the same line. So let me introduce the ln here again. Okay, then run it. So don't forget that the line ln here will move the next text that is coming to a new line. So here we've concatenated two different strings, and then how can we now put in a space in between them? So you can do this via a number of ways. So here we can concatenate a string, a space, right? So we are saying print out first name, then join it together with a space, and then last name. So once I run this, so we now have this space in between. Okay, so typically this is how you can make use of your different variables. So now let me print out a single statement that uses all of these variables. Okay, okay. So I could print out something like this. I am, that's with a space, plus the first name, plus space, plus last name, full stop. So this will print out I am Musa Ajibade, then print a full stop. And I could now continue. I am, then plus add my age, then yes, old. I am an indigene of Osh. Okay, I will just print out my state of origin and so on. So you could complete it actually. So let me run this now and then see how it works. Still now, okay. Okay, good. So we see here now how using concatenation we're able to print out the whole sentence like this. Okay, so basically I won't want to make this very long since we are just starting out. So this is how Java works. This is typically right. So here so far we've learned a number of things. We've learned creating variables using data types. We've learned the command for printing out statements to the console. We've learned concatenation of strings. We've learned assigning values to variables. We've learned how to reuse those variables and so on like that. So in our very next class, we'll be looking at performing some more complex calculations with numbers, and then gradually, stage by stage, we are going to be improving and getting better at what we are doing. See you guys in the next class. Bye for now.